What a weekend we have just had in the Championship. We've got another game going on tonight and arguably the biggest game of the season coming up tomorrow in the Championship as well. So for today's video we'll be digesting all of the weekend's action as well as going ahead and previewing that massive game for automatic promotion between Bournemouth and Forest that's coming up tomorrow. But as always, I want to get your guys' thoughts on all the action that unfolded over the weekend in the Championship. We've got a little bit more clarity in terms of the top six picture, but as always, loads of talking points to go through, and I want to get your guys' verdict on it all in the comments down below. Without any further ado, let's hop into the action. And starting out on Friday night's kickoff for QPR up against Sheffield United. Sheffield United taking a huge step towards securing a top six finish with a 3-1 victory in this one, obviously. We knew going into this game that this would be Mark Warburton's last home match in charge of QPR, and it was a decent enough start to the old-timers linking up for QPR. Adoma with the ball into Austin as QPR went in at half-time 1-0 up, but credit to Sheffield United because in what was a real crunch match for them, you know, an opportunity to pile the pressure onto the other side who were playing later on in the weekend, they more than did that with that second half performance. It was absolutely dominant from them. To be fair to QPR and Mahoney and Net, he did his best to sort of keep the scoreline down for as long as he could, but a couple of inventive set pieces from Sheff United and Diane Robinson both getting on the score sheet, and then Hurahan wrapping it up with an absolute cracker in the 94th minute means that Sheffield United now go into the last day still needing something against Fulham, which by no means is going to be a write-off, even with Fulham over the line in terms of promotion this season, but they're currently 2 points above Middlesbrough heading into the final day. They do have a superior goal difference, but just by 2 goals, so would be potentially risking it if they were just to pick up a point there against Fulham, but you'd think that that should be enough to go ahead and get them over the line. So massive second half there from Sheffield United, and for QPR on Mark Warburton's last home game in charge, it just wasn't quite to be. I still feel a little bit that Warburton has been somewhat hard done by in this second half of the season. I know that QPR's form has been nowhere near the expectations that he himself has set for, you know, him and this team, but thinking about all the circumstances that have gone into this second half of the season, James Lawrence Alcott, who's obviously a QPR fan, did a really good video about it, and it'll be interesting to see what QPR's move is heading into next season and whether they manage to recapture the positive momentum that was certainly around the club at the start of this season. But that right there, huge 3 points for Sheffield United and more than deserving after that second half performance. We saw North End bouncing back against Barnsley in the early kick-off on Saturday, beating them by 3-1. It was actually Barnsley who took the lead though in this one. Great moment for Aidan Marsh. Not quite sure what our defence was doing. Bauer and Lindsay absolutely all over the place for that first goal, but after that the quality difference between each side in the final third absolutely told. DJ with a brace in this one, the pick of the goals being his second goal. Absolute peach of the finish from the edge of the box, and then Emil Rees' third goal was way too easy from a Barnsley perspective, and to be honest, I think that 3 goals for North End in the end probably flattered Barnsley somewhat with some of the other chances we crafted at. You know, Rees had another chance he could have easily buried. Maguire had a chance. Mikey O'Neill, who I thought had a really positive cameo on from the bench as well, also could have got on the score sheet. So yeah, decent stuff there for North End, especially after how we absolutely unfolded against Blackburn, and going into the last day of the season against Borough, I'd like to see Mikey O'Neill get a start. I thought he looked really positive in the 10 or so minutes he was on for this one. We saw Bournemouth being at their ruthless best at Ewood Park as they put 3 goals past Blackburn to keep themselves in the driving seat for automatic promotion. That is going to be some game, isn't it, in midweek? Bournemouth against Forest, a straight shootout for that second place. It's going to be absolute fireworks. And they were at their clinical best in this one. They've scored 9 goals now across their last 3 away matches. When Philip Billing is in the mood, as he was in this one, there's absolutely no stopping him. An assist and 2 goals for Billing. Solanke at his clinical best for this one as well. And Blackburn just couldn't quite live with that. We knew that coming into this game, only a win would do for Blackburn in terms of keeping alive their pretty slim top 6 hopes. And even if after the way they dismantled Preston on Monday night, it was always going to be a big ask for them, I think, to come through this game and their next one with 6 points, and still relying on the teams above them to go ahead and slip up. And before we actually got into this game, we had Tony Mowbray dropping a bit of a bombshell, really, pretty much confirming his exit at Blackburn at the end of the season. Now, I've got a few different thoughts on this one, to be honest. I think that, first of all, it's certainly been really poorly handled by, you know, the higher-ups at Blackburn. The fact that it was sort of prized out of him in a pre-match press conference, the fact that they haven't actually sat down and had those talked with him seemingly one-to-one in terms of his contract running out at the end of the season, and doesn't seem like they're on a sort of, I don't know, straight talking conversation line with each other, which is strange, I find, with, you know, football managers and higher ups and things like that. What I would say though is it potentially creates a bit of an opportunity maybe for Blackburn to go in search of that next manager who could be able to take them to that next level, where it's just felt like Mowbray maybe has hit a bit of a ceiling with this Blackburn squad. That's not to say that he's not done a brilliant job with them over the years, because I think that when you look into where Blackburn were when Mowbray took over compared to where he will be leaving them, you know, on the cusp of the top 6, there's no doubt that he's been a great manager there over the years, but it does feel like maybe a bit of a freshen up and some new ideas going in there could be the best thing for them. But obviously all this could absolutely blow back in their faces if they get this next managerial appointment wrong, which, you know, absolutely could happen. So brilliant win there for Bournemouth, and Blackburn just left in limbo at the moment with that imminent Tony Mowbray departure. Now, for the most part of this season, Derby have had a pretty miserable time on the road, so it was nice for their fans to see them signing off their away campaign of this championship season with all 3 points at Blackpool. Good performance from Derby in this one in front of a packed-out away stand. Blackpool, the game-changing moment for them probably coming in the first half, where Gary Medine misses from the penalty spot. To be fair to Medine, he's had a decent record for Blackpool this season. I think yet to miss a penalty for the Seasiders, but not the greatest attempt in this one, and from there on in, Derby obviously gained a bit of confidence going into the second half. Maxwell has a bit of a blunder with that first goal, where Ebiowei manages to steal in and notch it into the back of the net, and it was Ebiowei's balled in for the second goal, which is a brilliant whipped free kick in and around the Blackpool defence, and then Cashin gets on the end of it to make it 2 for Derby. Ebiowei, who was a player who I was probably most excited by when I went to Derby away a few weeks ago with Preston, actually, and had another absolute blinder in this one, really has a high ceiling in terms of his potential for the future. I think a few Derby youngsters have gone ahead and showcased their talent so far this season. So yeah, nice way for Derby to sign off the season there away from home, and for Blackpool just weren't quite at it. We saw Bristol City put in 5 goals past Hull. I did predict this one to be a 5-goal thriller, but I had it down as a 3-2 Bristol City home win. But by far and away the better team in this one. I think that we can argue quite easily that Hull players found themselves on the beach, but a great way for Bristol City to sign off the season at Ashton Gate, and maybe even with a sense of frustration that they've not seen this more often throughout the season. To be fair to their forward 3, it probably has been one of the more underrated forward 3s in the Championship this season in terms of the goal contributions that they've all got this season between, you know, Vyman, Semenyo and Chris Martin. It's really been their backline at times and midfield which has let them down. But yeah, some great goals, great combinations. I think the pick of the goals for this one has to be Andy Vyman's second, a lob which had, I don't know, sort of the prowess of Cantona or something about it, really coolly slotted away. I thought that Nathan Baxter was really quite aggressive throughout the afternoon, seemingly, with his general positioning. You know, Vyman lobbed him after just 5 minutes for that opening goal, and there were some other opportunities where Bristol City players could have gone ahead and done the same. But yeah, Semenyo with a goal, Vyman and Martin with braces, all of them involved with assisting each other for the other goals as well. So yeah, if Bristol City can keep those 3 together next season and build a bit more stability from the back moving forwards, then I don't know, maybe they could be on to something next season. But it's been an inconsistent ride, but the highs have been good for Bristol City, and that right there was, you know, the best of them perhaps. Cardiff up against Birmingham played out as your sort of classic end of season tie where neither side had anything to play for. It was actually Birmingham who started out as the better of the two sides and probably did shade that first half. Bacuna and Bella linking up with a brilliant break down the middle of the pitch for the first goal. Now, there were a few other opportunities for Birmingham for some goals in that first half, but as we've seen a few times so far this season with this Birmingham squad, just eager to keep hold and sort of preserve the lead they had, dropping ever deeper and deeper as that second half went on, and in the end that pressure told. Etheridge a little bit rash coming out, gives away the penalty, and then Will Vokes absolutely smashes it home for the point for Cardiff, which I think was deserved in the end given how they had had the better of the second half. Coventry up against Huddersfield was the story of Coventry's season really. Played some lovely football, created a bunch of chances, but it was Huddersfield's quality who told at the end of the first half. Harry Toffolo's absolute thunderbolt from outside the box, lovely curling finish into the far post, saw Huddersfield going at half time 1-0 up when really Coventry could have easily been the side that were two or three goals up in that first half. I think that so far this season Coventry have missed 54 big chances, which ranks them as the 7th highest in terms of biggest chances missed so far this season, and they certainly created a lot throughout this one. Huddersfield then stuck away the penalty to wrap this one up before Gyökeres popped up with another 90th minute goal for Coventry, but this time they left things too late for the comeback. In terms of Huddersfield, more than likely, I mean it's pretty much guaranteed now that it will be a playoff spot for them. While automatic promotion isn't totally out of the picture, they are relying on quite a few things going their way and a huge goal swing in terms of the goal difference on the final day. But 4th place for Huddersfield is an unbelievable finish. You know, you don't need to remind me where I had them predicted at the start of the season, and honestly I'd give this side absolutely every chance of going all the way in the playoffs as well. I think they've got that bit between the teeth, Huddersfield. Second half of the season and, you know, the unbeaten run that we've seen them go on. Yeah, don't rule this Huddersfield squad out because another impressive win there as they head into the final day, looking to end the season on a high and on as much as 82 points, which would be an unbelievable season. We saw Middlesbrough getting the better of Stoke as they got past them by 3-1. Matt Crooks, who's been probably their biggest goal threat throughout the season, scoring a brace in this one as well as an own goal from Baker, makes things incredibly interesting heading into the final day. Middlesbrough 70 points, 2 points below Sheffield United and Luton, who obviously play tonight, and there's every chance that this goes down to goal difference in terms of that final playoff finish, which is absolutely crazy considering that, you know, Stoke's consolation goal in the 94th minute could end up being absolutely damning for Middlesbrough's top 6 hopes. In terms of the goal difference at the moment, Middlesbrough are currently on +12, Sheffield United on +14, so Middlesbrough are going to be travelling to Deepdale on the final day knowing that they need to score as many goals as possible in the eventuality that Sheffield United draw to Fulham and they both finish the season on the same amount of points. So yeah, Middlesbrough fans, how are you fancying your chances of a top 6 finish going into the final day? Obviously you are relying on other sides dropping points, but with the way the fixtures are congested and the drama that we usually get on the last day, there's every chance that goes and happens. The only thing you would say about Middlesbrough is if they are to miss out by, you know, a point or two, or God forbid on goal difference, I think there'll certainly be fans looking back on the last sort of month or so and thinking, we really shouldn't have dropped points, you know, there and there, because there have been a few games where Middlesbrough have just dropped below their standards really, because playing like this, there's no doubt they're good enough to be a playoff outfit. We saw Millwall ease past Peterborough in the second half as they got past them by 3-0, and Millwall actually now have the best home record in the Championship. They've only lost 4 times at home this season and have picked up 45 points, which is more than anyone else throughout this Championship season. Conversely, their away record doesn't really gleam as bright. They're 17th in the Championship for the amount of points they've picked up on the road, just 24 all season, and they'll need to go into the final day needing quite the goal difference swing to go their way and to pick up all 3 points at Bournemouth if they are to secure a top 6 finish. It looks more than unlikely that that's going to happen for Millwall, and probably in the same boat as Middlesbrough, where if they do miss out on the top 6 finish, there'll probably just be a few games where Millwall fans are looking back throughout the season and thinking, oh, we could have won that game, you know, a point which could have been 3 and things like that. But good stuff here from Millwall, and like I say, we have seen crazier goal swings happening in the Championship on the final day, but they're relying on both the Borough and Sheffield United loss, as well as overturning a 5-goal difference. Currently they're on +9 in terms of their goal difference, Sheffield United on +14. But good season nonetheless for Millwall, and I'm sure they'll look to upset the apple cart going to Bournemouth on the final day, won't they? In the second half, Nottingham Forest absolutely blitzed their way past Swansea City, beating them by 5-1. This game was quite evenly poised at half-time at 1-1, but a second half hat-trick from Sam Surridge, probably the pick of the goals being his second one, with that bursting run from James Garner and that cultured finish into the top corner, followed by Alex Myton wrapping this one up later on to make it 5 to Forest. This didn't look like a Nottingham Forest side, particularly in that second half, who looks like they're going to, crack or crumble under any pressure. It looks like a team who is absolutely embracing that at the moment. And scary news for Bournemouth, obviously, who they head to in midweek for that automatic promotion decider, and quite big for Forest that they scored 5 goals in this one, because if Nottingham Forest do go to Bournemouth and win in midweek, then on the last day it will come down to a straight shootout between Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest in terms of the goal difference, which will be absolutely crazy in terms of the finish line for second place this season in the Championship. But yeah, later on in the video we'll go ahead and preview what I see happening in that game in midweek. But Forest are playing with so much momentum at the moment that I don't think anyone wants to stand in their way, to be honest. And then to wrap things up, we saw Reading beating. And then to wrap things up, we saw West Brom beating Reading by 1-0. Another dead rubber for this weekend in the Championship. And I think that both Reading and West Brom fans will be thankful to have this season behind them, really, and will be maybe optimistically looking forward to next season and going one better. But West Brom in the end, the deciding goal came from Callum Grant. Callum Robinson having an impact from the bench when he came on. Good carry into the final third. Lays it off into Grant in a sort of 3v2 situation, and he finished off well. Robinson himself could have had a couple of goals with a few of the chances he had after this one, but Callum Grant's goal being enough to win this one in the game, which ultimately didn't really matter. But those were all the matches we had going on over the weekend. Obviously, we've got another game coming up against Fulham against Luton within this game week, but the one we're here to preview next is Bournemouth up against Forest. Let's talk about it. And so before we wrap up for today, we of course have to preview the big match which is coming up tomorrow. Bournemouth up against Forest. So many different permutations coming into this one. Bournemouth could be promoted, Forest could leapfrog them and go up into that second spot if they go ahead and win, and if they draw, all is the same going into that final day with still everything to play for between these two sides. Now, it's interesting whereby a draw in this game probably does suit Bournemouth more than it does Forest, as obviously they're then in the driving seat come the final day of the season, although I'm sure that Scott Parker and the Bournemouth fans will be more than keen to win this game and get promotion sealed off. But it's an interesting one because we have spoke about Bournemouth at times when, draws have been, a decent enough result for them, that we have seen them been a little bit sort of more cautious with their play in the final third, a little bit more methodical with their build-up play and things like that. And I think, to be honest, this Bournemouth side are better when the shackles are fully taken off them and they're just allowed to be this unrelenting force going forward. Sort of like we saw in the second half against Swansea, to be honest. I think that at times when they have been playing with the handbrake on, when they're trying to sort of, shore things up at the back, keep things nice and tight, I think that's where the advantage maybe goes to Forest at that point. So it'll be fascinating to see tactically how Scott Parker actually does approach this game, because I think that the best we've seen of Bournemouth recently has been when they are, moving the ball fast through their lines in the final third, like we have seen more of probably in their away performances recently than we have in some of their home matches. So yeah, Forest have probably all the momentum with them at this point in time, the run they've been on in this second half of the season. The goals they put away against Swansea especially, this is a team who is scoring goals at the moment, who looks in, fine form moving forward and aren't conceding all too many chances, as they haven't done on the road all too often this season, actually. Nottingham Forest have only conceded 16 goals away from home this season, which is the best away record in the Championship in terms of defensively keeping things tight. So Forest aren't going to make this one easy here for Bournemouth, and for the sake of drama and momentum, I actually think that Forest could go ahead and do Bournemouth in this one. I really do. Now, obviously, Bournemouth's win against Blackburn was absolutely massive because, that was perceived to be, quite a tough game with Blackburn and having a bit of a do-or-die moment themselves in this season. But the way this second half of the season has unfolded for Nottingham Forest, it just feels like it's in the script that they may go ahead and edge this one. I'm going to say that Forest may scrape it by 2-1. A draw wouldn't surprise me, and that would still keep things interesting going into the final day. But if Forest win this, they're in the driving seat. I think they might just do it. I'm going to go Forest 2-1 to just pip it away from home, which would be fascinating going into the last day. But I want to get your guys' verdict on this game in the comments down below. There we have it though, guys. That will wrap it up for today's video. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and do stick around and subscribe for some regular Championship content. Loads of content coming out over the next few weeks as we get towards the end of this Championship season, and of course heading into the playoffs in not too long as well. So guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.